Let me give you an example. Here's where I discovered the whole concept of relationship selling in the first place. It was in Arkansas, where I grew up. Where's Lynn? Lynn Pettis. There you are. I grew up in Little Rock. By the way, yes, I've met him. Have to get this out of the way all the time, don't you? I'm the same age as Bill Clinton. We're both 55. We were both born in Arkansas at the same time. He was born in Hope. I was born in Little Rock. We grew up there at the same time. We know a lot of the same people. And if he'd made better life choices, he could be speaking to you right now. But I got the better job. Yes. But I grew up in Arkansas, and back in 1968, I was working for GMAC. I was a field representative. Translation, bill collector. Now, 1968, I was 22 years old. Look at this face. This is 55. Can you picture me at 22? 22, I looked about 4. Always had the rosy cheeks, didn't have gray hair back then. I was kind of a baby face. And what I was doing for a living was repossessing log trucks in the hills of northern Arkansas, up around Mountain View. On a typical day, I'd drive down some deserted logging road. I'd get back in the woods. I'd find this big truck I'd been looking for. I'd park my company car, and I'd kind of swagger over the truck. I'd stand there, I'd look up at the cab, and this big hair-covered creature would come down out of it. I'd look him square in the chin, and I'd say, "I'm here to get your truck." And he'd say to me, "Boy, I don't know if you've noticed from down there, but we're alone in these woods." I'd say, "Yes, sir," and I'd go back to the company car. And they'd say, "Look, just go away and leave me alone." I'd say, "Hey, no worries, Mac, I'm out of here." And I'd start to drive off. I'd pause for a second and say, "Excuse me, but one last comment before I leave. I'm the last nice guy they plan to send. See ya." And they said, wait, whoa. What do you mean last nice guy?" I said, "Well, after me, it gets kind of ugly. They send these big bruisers with guns and sheriffs. Not a pretty sight." And they said, "Well, what are my options?" And I'd say, "Set the gun down." And, on 3 occasions, that literally was the case. And I'd show them what their options were. And 9 times out of 10, I'd either get a partial payment if they had it, or a payment, or if they didn't have any money at all, what they would do is they'd drive the truck back to the dealership. I couldn't operate those things. And I'd give them a ride home. So I did okay as a bill collector. I didn't like the work, but I did all right. Now, the guy who took over after me didn't do as well. His name was Pete Smith. Now, Pete Smith made a serious tactical error. He went directly from the Marine Corps into bill collecting. How many Marines have we got in the room? Let me see the hands. Yeah, I used to ask how many ex-Marines we had, and then I found out it's a permanent condition. Once you're a Marine, Semper Fi, always faithful. Okay, so Pete comes out of the Marines. Now, Pete made the mistake of believing his drill sergeants. He thought he was invincible. So he goes out on the job with that attitude that he had in boot camp. And the first day on the job, well, not first day, first week on the job, he called on Monroe. Not Monroe, Monroe. Now, Monroe had been giving me partial payments all the time. Maybe he was always paying something, but he was always behind on his overall account. And I'd put up with it. Well, Pete decided it was time to clean up the account. So he goes out to Monroe's house, 7 o'clock at night in the dark, in the poor part of town, up around Newport, Arkansas. Goes out, bangs on the door, yells out some kind of a challenge, which Monroe accepted. You're ahead of me. Monroe stepped onto the front porch. Pete said something like, "All right, Smith's a name, credit's a game. I want your money, your wife, your car, or your life. You make the call." Those weren't his words, but I guarantee you that was the attitude. Monroe reduced him to a quivering lump of flesh. Took him about 15 seconds to beat Pete Smith to a pulp, and then he disappeared with the truck, never to be seen again. Pete, in the meantime, went into the Newport, Arkansas hospital for 14 days. That's a long stay, folks. And I looked at that and I thought, now that's the same guy who was giving me payments. What's the difference between Pete and me, other than current condition? Thought maybe it's education. So I went to our personnel file and I looked, same education. Okay, I bet it's training. So I checked our training records. We had both completed the company's 3-part course, which at that time was, these are your accounts, these are your business cards. Good luck. Well, it was dangerous work. What was the main difference between me and Pete? What do you think? Attitude. Yeah, the way we looked at what we did. Point of view, frame of mind, attitude toward what we were doing. Pete went out there as a persuader to talk people into buying, more or less, cooperating, right? I knew if I tried that, I'd never have offspring, okay? So I figured it's going to be a lot more enlightened on my part to go out there as a partner in problem solving. So the way I approached people is I'd say, hi, I'm Jim Cathcart. I'm here from the company. It's my job to show you how to get us off your back. And when they were convinced I was sincere, when they could tell I wasn't playing a game with them, they'd open their homes, they'd offer me coffee, we'd sit down and solve the problem. I want to talk about a concept that I call upserving, and it's contrasted with upselling. Upselling is about getting someone to buy more. Upserving, on the other hand, is about getting someone to feel more satisfied. Okay? So let me put this in context. It's not focusing on your needs to sell. It's focusing on their needs as the buyer. And the emphasis is not to get them to increase the size of the order. That may happen. But the emphasis is on getting them to feel more satisfied that they're your customer. Okay? Here's how I saw that in action years ago. 1975, I moved from Little Rock to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Lived in Tulsa for 6 years. When I moved there, the first thing I wanted to do on getting to Tulsa was reestablish my day-to-day routine. And for me, the day-to-day routine always begins with me going to breakfast by myself. I take my writing pad, I take a pen, and I sit there by myself and I let my mind do whatever it wants to do that morning. I've done that for 30-some-odd years and it's served me very well. So I got to Tulsa and I looked around for my breakfast restaurant. And sure enough, about a mile from the new office, there was the symbol of it, sticking up through the trees. Well, I had pretty simple taste at the time, but there are the Golden Arches. And I pulled over into the parking lot that day. It was a slow morning. I walked into the McDonald's, and behind the counter were 2 women, a 20-year-old and a teenager. And as I approached the counter, the 20-year-old said, "Good morning, what's your name?" In a McDonald's. I said, she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "You just asked my name." She said, "Question was too hard?" No. She said, "Well, what is it and what will you have?" I said, "It's Jim Cathcart and I'll have an Egg McMuffin and coffee." She said, "Fine, that'll cost $1.41. So I paid. I started to walk off with my breakfast and the teenager turned to the 20-year-old. She said, "Hey, Grandma, where are the coffee cups?" I said, "There is no way on earth you are a grandmother." She said, "No, but that's my nickname. They call me Grandma because I'm kind of the mother hen around here. I take care of things." And I said, "Well, what do you like to be called?" She said, "You can call me Grandma. My name's Marilyn." I said, "Okay, Grandma." You know, and I went on and I ate my breakfast. Now, I had a good time that morning. I came back the next day, and this became my regular place. Every morning for the first several, she asked my name. Then she started to remember it, and then she realized I was always ordering the same thing, always an Egg McMuffin and coffee. Always cost $1.41. So it was a regular routine, and I enjoyed the routine. Well, one morning I pulled into the parking lot, and I looked up and said, "Uh-oh. What do you think I saw?" A bus? Oh, no. 2 buses. Now, 2 buses empty in a McDonald's parking lot equals what in a McDonald's lobby? Chaos. I figure, okay, 45 people per bus, we got 90 head ready to graze in the lobby of this McDonald's. That's okay, it's my place, I'm going in. So I parked my car, I walked over, squeezed into this place. Got in there, looked for the line that was moving fastest, the one that'll stop if you get in it. It stopped. Then I heard my name, Mr. Cathcart. Mr. Cathcart. And I look up at the front, it's Grandma, Marilyn. Yes. She said, your breakfast is ready. Excuse me. Coming through. My breakfast is ready. Reached for my $1.41. She said, nah, it's on the house. How's it going there? Yo. Went into that dining room and dined, if that's possible, on an Egg McMuffin. Now, what do you think at that moment? Do you figure the odds were pretty good I might come back? What would you say? Pretty good, extremely good, or a slam dunk certainty? Slam dunk. What am I coming back for? The cuisine? No? Not the product? The price? That was a good price. What would I come back for? Yeah, Grandma, for the way she made me. The way she made me feel. With one simple, seemingly trivial gesture, she bought 6 years of customer loyalty. I'd bring business friends for lunch. I don't even like their lunch. They would say, there? It's special. It was for me. Now, I want you to stop and analyze this for a second. 6 years of customer loyalty from one simple gesture. What did it cost her to do the gesture? That was the gross cost. What was the net? What, 2 cents? You've eaten one of those. Huh? But we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. It was $1.41, okay? How much time do you think she committed to that transaction? 15 seconds. You know, she's serving the other people, sees me, gets down someone's order, gets an extra egg sandwich and coffee. Mr. Cathcart, your breakfast is ready. No, it's on the house. Goes on serving other people. Maybe 15 seconds. 15 seconds of her time, $1.41 gross revenue commitment, 6 years of customer loyalty, 27 years of free advertising. Now, we're talking ROI. 27 years of me telling that story and giving them free advertising? That ain't bad. So why'd she do it? She did it because it was in the training manual. Okay, she did it because they gave bonuses to people who did that. No. She did it because if she hadn't done that, somebody would have noticed, she'd have gotten in trouble. She did it. Why'd she do it? She wanted to. Now think about that. We're talking management strategy here. She did it because she wanted to? How are you going to manage wanted to? Half of what you do is managing point of view. Half the job is keeping people in the right frame of mind. When people don't see much purpose in what they're doing, they don't add much value to what they're doing.